Hello, welcome to Bedtime Bible Stories. This show is not family friendly. It it is for mature audiences only. Viewer discretion is advised. So if you feel like a pussy, you probably are. So take your pills, pack a bowl, grab your smokes, get comfy. Make sure you have your bedtime beverage. Then let's smoke it, drink it, read it. Yeah. We're on 2nd Maccabees chapter 12. Do you know what that means? Tomorrow night we start a new book. Hopefully, if all goes well, if I don't talk too fucking much. Okay, 2nd Maccabees chapter 12. When this agreement had been reached, Lysias returned to the king, and the Jews went about their farming. But some of the governors were mad as fuck. Timmy, Apollonius, Genenaus, Hieronymus, Demophon, and Nicanor would not let them live quietly and in peace. All right, so this was what the other battles were in the first Maccabees, which should have been second, by the way, because reading this would have made all of that make sense. And the people of Joppa did so an ungodly deed as this. Okay, so they're about to do some terrible shit. They invited the Jews who lived among them to embark with their wives and children on boats that they had provided, as though there were no ill will to the Jews. The Chinese did this not so long ago. They put a bunch of this one tribe of people. They took them on a boat and led them to an island. And this was all documented. And the people were like, don't leave us here. They're going to kill us. But the documentary people just went along with it like, are you fucking kidding me? So they're doing that to these people. I'm obsessed with these things. It's a Milky Way fudge. I don't want to put it on here because I don't want to get like any kind of anything. Nobody sponsors me. Could you imagine if somebody sponsored me? How insane. Ain't nobody gonna sponsor me. But these Milky Ways are fire. Like fire. Okay. So they wrote these people like, hey, you're gonna be good. It'll be good. And this was done by public vote of the city. When they accepted, because they wished to live peaceably and suspected nothing. So this is what they do to America. Democrats, they tell you nice things, and you don't expect them to be the ones that ruined your city because, oh my God, they would never do that, except for they do. And that's what they're doing to the people of their country. They're like, hey, we're Democrats, trust us. And they're like, yeah, we voted for you. Okay. Okay. So the people of Joppa took them out to sea and drowned them, at least 200. But how would they have drowned them? I don't understand. Like, hey, it's okay. And then they go and drown them. I don't get it. Then Judas. Okay, this is Mac. Mac heard of the cruelty visited on his compatriots. He gave orders to his men. And calling upon God, the righteous judge, attacked the murderers of his kindred. He set fire to the rain. No, he didn't. He set fire to the harbor by night, burned the boats, and massacred those who had taken refuge there. Uh-oh. Then, because the city's gates were closed, he withdrew, intending to come again and root out the whole community of Joppa. Okay, so Mac was gonna come back. It's gonna be Return of the Mac. Watch, that's gonna happen. But learning that the people in Jamnia meant in the same way to wipe out the Yuden who were living among them. I mean, I live in the future. Do you blame them, though? He attacked the Jamanites by night and set fire to the rain. No, he set fire to the harbor and the fleet. So the glow of the light was seen in Jerusalem, 30 miles away. You could see that shit 30 miles. It was smoke on the water, the fires in the sky. That's what they was doing. When they had gone more than a mile from there, on their march against Timmy, at least 5,000 Arabs with 500 cavalry attacked them. Bitch, bye. After a hard fight, Judas and his companions, with God's help, were victorious. The defeated nomads begged Mac to grant them pledges of friendship, promising to give him livestock and to help his people in all other ways. Did you keep that promise after he died? Because I'm willing to bet you didn't keep that promise after he died. We're not there yet, Nikki. Shut the fuck up. Judas, realizing they might be indeed useful in many ways, agreed to make peace with them. And after receiving his pledges, they went back to their tents. There's something on my face. I can feel it. It's on my face. He also attacked a certain town that was strongly fortified with earthworks, walls inhabited by all sorts of Gentiles. Its name was Caspin. Those who were within, relying on the strength of their walls and on their supply of provisions, behaved most insolently towards Mac and his men, railing at them, even blaspheming and saying unholy things. This is some shit because Dude runs in there like, whoa! Yeah, I think this is what was in the other book. So Mac and his men, calling upon the great sovereign of the world, why did you change your name again, big guy? Listen, God is constantly forever changing his name. But his original name is Jealousy, and he is a jealous God. That's his name. My name is Jealousy. He told Moses that on the mountain. We'll read about it in Exodus if we ever get there again. So they called upon the big guy, who without battering rams or engines of war overthrew Jericho in the days of Joshua, rushed furiously upon the walls. What? But Mac and his men, calling upon the big guy of the world, who, without battering rams or engines of war, overthrew in the days of Joshua, they overthrew Jericho, and they rushed upon the walls. They took the town by the will of God and slaughtered untold numbers, so that the adjoining lake, a quarter of a mile wide, appeared to be running over with blood. There's blood in the water. I didn't know this was it. This isn't at the time of Joshua. But Judas and his men. Oh, okay. So God, who without, okay, so God did this in the days of Joshua. And they took God. And when they had gone 95 miles from there, they came to Carex Car. I can't do it today. Corrects to that's said some kind of way that, but I don't know how it's said. Uh so they came to the Jews who are called Talbiani. 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 I don't know. Taliban. I'm just kidding. I don't know if it says that. They did not find Timmy in that region, for he had by then left there without accomplishing anything. Though, in one place, he had left a very strong garrison. Dositheus and Sosipater, who were captains under Mac, marched out and destroyed those who Timmy had left in the stronghold, more than 10,000 men. But Mac arranged his army in divisions, set men in command of the division, and hurried after Timmy, who had with him 120,000 infantry and 2,500 cavalry. When Timmy learned of the approach of Judas, he sent off the women and the children, also the baggage, to a place called Karnaim. Karnaim? Karnaim. For that place was hard to besiege and difficult of access because of the narrowness of all the approaches. But when Mac's first division appeared, terror and fear came over the enemy at the manifestation. That's a good way to describe them. A manifestation of him who sees all things. Oh, the manifestation of God. In their flight, they rushed headlong in every direction, so that often they were injured by their own men and pierced by the points of their own swords. So Mac pressed the pursuit with the utmost vigor, putting the sinners to the sword, and destroyed as many as 30,000. Don't you think that's going a bit overboard, though, dude? Timmy himself fell into the hands of Dositheus and Sosipater and their men. With great guile, he begged them to let him go in safety because he held the parents of most of them and the brothers of some, to whom no consideration would be shown. And with many words he had confirmed his solemn promise to restore them unharmed. So they let him go for the sake of saving their kindred. Then Mac marched against Karnam and the temple of Atargatis and slaughtered 25,000 people. After the rout and the destruction of these, he marched also against Ephron, a fortified town where Lysias lived with multitudes of people of all nationalities. Stalwart young men took their stand before the walls and made a vigorous offense, and great stores of war engines and missiles were there. But the Jews called upon the sovereign, change his name again, who with power shatters the might of his enemies. They got the town into their hands and killed as many as 25,000 of those who were in it. Setting out from there, they hastened to Scythopolis, which is 75 miles from Jerusalem. But when the Jews who lived before witnessed to the goodwill that, but when the Jews who lived there bore witness to the goodwill that the people of Scythopolis had shown them, and their kind treatment of them in hard times, they thanked them and exhorted them to be well, depose their race in the future also. Then they went up to Jerusalem as the festival of weeks was close at hand. I don't know what month that's in. You want to find out? Let's find out. We've been trying to figure out all the other ones. Why not this one? Cheval. Okay, Festival of Weeks. The wheat harvest. When is that? That's like October, November, ain't it? When is it? One of the harvest feasts. So, Feast of First Fruits. Okay, so September. Okay. It says the Feast of Harvest. So, September, October, I guess. Hmm. Fuck. Okay. Oh, here we go. After the festival called Pentecost, they hurried against Gorgias, the governor of Idumea, who came with 3,000 infantry and 400 cavalry. When they joined the battle, it happened that a few of the Jews fell. Oops. But a certain Dysathias, he was on horseback and was a strong man, caught hold of Gorgias and grasping his cloak was dragging him off by main strength. Wishing to take the accursed man alive, when one of the Thracian cavalry bore down on him and cut off his arm, so Gorgias escaped and reached Marissa. As Esdras and his men had been fighting for a long time, they were weary. Mac called upon the Lord to show himself their ally and leader in the battle. In the language of their ancestors, he raised the battle cry with hymns. Then he charged against Gorgias' troops, and when they were not expecting them, put them to flight. When Judas assembled his army and went to the city of Adullam, as the seventh day was coming on, they purified themselves according to the custom and kept the Sabbath. The next day had now become necessary. Mac and his men went to take up the bodies of the fallen and bring them back to lie with their kin in the I don't know how to say that. Sepulchres of their ancestors. Then, under the tunic of each one of the dead, they found sacred tokens of the idols of Gymnia, which the law forbids the Jews to wear. And it became clear all this was the reason these men had fallen, because they got God attached to their balls. Well, a different God attached to their balls. That is some shit. Gross. Ugh. So they all bless the ways of the Lord, the righteous judge, who reveals the things that are hidden. And they turned to supplication, praying that the sin that had been committed might be wholly blotted out. The noble Mac exhorted the people to keep themselves free from sin, for they had seen with their own eyes what had happened as a result of the sin of those who had fallen. They had gods attached to their nuts, dude. Don't do that. He took up a collection, man by man, to the amount of 2,000 drachmas of silver, and sent it to Jerusalem to provide for a sin offering. In doing this, he acted very well and honorably, taking account of the resurrection. For if he were not expecting that those who had fallen would rise again, it would not have been superfluous and foolish to pray for the dead. Okay. So, this is one of the guys that believes in the resurrection. That's an original Jew thing. These fake Jews that pretend they're Jews do not believe in the resurrection, because the fake Jews never saw God. The real Jews lived with God. But okay. If he was looking to the splendid reward that is laid up for those who fall asleep in godliness, it was holy and pious thought. Therefore, he made an atonement for the dead, so they might be delivered from their sin. The Mormons do that. They go to the temple in their special underwear and pray for dead people. They sure do. Benjamin Franklin is like the big story. Benjamin Franklin said, "Thank you for saving me," supposedly. I don't know that to be true or false, just like I don't know what's happening in the Bible is true or false. I don't know. But I know this is something that the Mormons do. Alright, be right back. Okay. What the fuck? Something happened. And I don't know what it was that happened. Okay. So we're on 2 Maccabees 13. In the 149th year, word came to Mac that his men at Antiochus, was coming. When Mac and his men heard that Eupator was coming with a great army against Judea, and with him Lysias, Lysias, who had charge of the government. Each of them had a Greek force of 110,000 infantry, 5,300 cavalry, 22 elephantes, 300 chariots armed with scythes. So death was coming. Melanos also joined them, and with utter hypocrisy urged Antiochus on, not for the sake of his country's welfare, but because he thought he would be established in office. But the King of Kings aroused the anger of Antiochus. Who's the King of Kings? Okay. The King of Kings aroused the anger of Antiochus against the scoundrel. And when Lysias informed him that this man was to blame for all of the trouble, he ordered him to take him to Berea and put him to death by the method that is customary in that place. So that must have been a brutal place. Okay. Hold on. But the King of Kings aroused the anger of Eupator against the scoundrel. Oh. Melanos. Okay. So Lysias is the reason Melanos gets killed. For there is a tower there, 50 cubits high, full of ashes, and it has a rim running around it that on all sides inclines precipitously into ashes. Hold on. It has a rim running around it that on all sides inclines precipitously into the ashes. There lay all pushed to destruction anyone guilty of sacrilege or notorious for other crimes. So, is that like kick him into the... This is Sparta! Is it like that? Oh, we're gonna pretend it's like that because I don't know what any of that means. By such fate, it came about that Melanos, the lawbreaker, died without even a burial in the earth. 'Cause this is Sparta! This is Jewland! And it was eminently just, because he had committed many sins against the altar, whose fire and ashes were holy. He met his death in ashes. Because this is Sparta! The kings, with barbarous arrogance, was coming to show the Jews things far worse. But when Mac heard this, he ordered the people to call upon the Lord day and night, Now, if ever, to help those who were on the point of being deprived of the law in their country and the holy temple, and not let the people who had just begun to revive fall into the hands of the blasphemous Gentiles. Yeah, it turns out Jews are the ones that are actually blasphemous. I live in the future. Jews are terrible. When they had okay, big guy. They're only a little bit terrible. Mostly. A little bit most of the time. You know, they're just a little bit shady most of the time. Hey, I said most, a little bit of most of the time. When, okay. When they all had joined in the same petition and had implored the merciful Lord with weeping, fasting, and doing the face thing for 3 days without ceasing, Mac exhorted them and ordered them to stand ready. Get ready, it's coming! After consulting privately with the elders, he determined to march out and decided the matter by the help of God before the king's army could enter Judea and get possession of the city. So get fucking ready, we're about to fight! So, committing the decision to the creator of the world, change his name again, and exhorting his troops to fight bravely. Fight these motherfuckers till you die! He pitched his camp near Modin. He gave his troops the watchword, God's victory. And with a picked force of the bravest young men, he attacked the king's pavilion at night and killed as many as 2,000 men in the camp. He stabbed the leading Elefante and its rider. Why? Why do these people kill animals and burn them? What the fuck? You could have just took it. Nah. Why? Why? They even take over villages and burn the animals of the village instead of taking them. They steal everything else, but they kill the animals. It's like, what? Who does that? This guy. In the end, they filled the camp with terror and confusion and withdrew in triumph. This happened just as day was dawning because the Lord's help protected him. Yeah, go get some sleep, little dude. The king, having had a taste of the daring of the Jews, tried in strategy attacking their positions. He advanced against Besser, a strong fortress of the Jews, and was turned back. Attacked again and was defeated. You don't learn. This guy don't learn. Judas sent in to the garrison whatever was necessary. But Rhodocus, a man from the ranks of the Jews, gave secret information to the enemy. He was sought for, caught, and put in prison. The king negotiated a second time with the people in Bezer, gave pledges, received theirs, withdrew, attacked Judas and his men, was defeated. He got word that Philip, who had been left in charge of the government, had revolted in Antioch. He was dismayed, called in the Jews, yielded, swore to observe all their rites, settled with them, offered sacrifice, honored the sanctuary, showed generosity to the holy place. He received left hegemonites as governor from Ptolemy to Gerar, and went to Ptolemy. The people of Ptolemy were indignant over the treaty. In fact, they were so angry they wanted to annul its terms. What do you think one of George Soros's ancestors started that? Some Black Lives Matter bullshit. Anyway. Lysias took the public platform, made the best possible defense, convinced them, appeased them, gained their goodwill, set out for Antioch. This is how the king's attack and withdrawal turned out. Just like this. It was a good idea. Anyway, that is the end of that. So, thank you for watching. I love you and have the sweetest dreams ever.